Okay, welcome everyone. It's so nice to see some old faces and some new faces. We're going to start right away. I always like to start by getting into our bodies. We're going to do what's called an arrival practice before we dive into anything theoretical, because that's the best way that we learn. So just get comfortable. Be in any position that is best for you. You can be lying in bed, standing, seated, whatever works. Eyes can be open or closed. And just take a moment to be here, right now, in this place that you're in and in your body. One way to connect with your body is to just notice your breath, not to do anything to it, just to be noticing that you are breathing. And it always fascinates me. We don't think about it much. We kind of take it for granted. But the fact that these lungs breathe for us all day, every day is kind of a miracle. So just bring in a moment of gratitude for what these amazing bodies do for us. When we live in pain, it can be easy to think about all the things we don't like about our bodies, but it's still doing some pretty amazing things. So just take a moment of gratitude and focus on soft, easy breaths, not trying to do anything special, just letting the breath happen. And if you've got support behind you, just lean into that support a little bit more, kind of snuggle into it so that you really feel the back body. And as you're tuning in today, let my voice kind of wash around you and come in from behind you. We take the information in a little bit differently when we allow it to come in through the back of us rather than coming at us from the front. One more breath in and out. And then if your eyes were closed, you can blink them open or open them into a soft gaze and then let the room come into focus. And then take a moment to look around the room that you're in and let your eyes come to land on something that brings you comfort or makes you smile. And know that that is something that you can do at any point during today's session. If we're doing a practice that doesn't feel good, or I'm asking you to tune into your body and you don't like it, you just change your focus to something on the outside of you. You can look out a window, look at a pet, look at a plant, your favorite picture. You choose what that might be. Okay, let's dive in. So, these amazingly complex bodies of ours are something that I love to talk about. And I could talk about pain for days and days and days and still have more to share. What I really don't like talking about is myself, but there are a lot of you on the call who don't know me. So I will take a moment. I'll put my big girl pants on and I'll take a moment to introduce myself and let you know how I came to be doing this, teaching about pain. So I started my career as an athletic therapist. I studied exercise science in university with a specialization in athletic therapy. When I graduated, I got certified as a Pilates instructor, and I immediately started the 5-year journey to become a manual osteopath. Somewhere along that journey, I opened a Pilates studio slash osteopathy clinic, and that was a dream of mine that I ran for 17 years until quite suddenly I had to shut it all down pretty much from bed because of health issues. So my first experience with chronic pain was when I was 17. From the ages of 17 to 23, I had pretty severe spinal stenosis with 2 disc herniations. That led to my first of 3 spine surgeries at the age of, on my 22nd birthday, actually. It went very well. That surgery gave me 20 years of a very functional life. And then fast forward 20 years, which brings us to 2010, I was 40, and I had a complicated spinal cord compression injury that really changed my life quite dramatically. That led to 2 more spine surgeries and hip surgery. One of those surgeries helped with some things, but caused a lot of issues that I had not had before and that I'm still dealing with now, 15 years later. I had some complications. So I had a kidney infection. I had a pretty severe allergic reaction to the medication for that infection. I got meningitis. So I went from being someone who was very fit, very active, studio owner. I was teaching over a dozen Pilates classes a week to almost bedridden for several years, chronic migraines, chronic pain, and a lot of autoimmune issues. What struck me was in that first experience with chronic pain, Everything I had learned in school worked for me. Every time I had an injury or any pain issue, and same for my clients, there was a series of things that I did, and it helped me and it helped the people that I worked with. The second bout of chronic pain that started in 2010, everything that I knew not only didn't work, it made me worse. And this got me very puzzled, and I love a puzzle. I cannot stand a brain teaser without trying to figure it out. So it really forced me to dive into learning more about pain. And I really grabbed onto everything I could get my hands on and learned about pain from many different lenses. And it just so happened that at that time, the research on pain was exploding. And essentially, everything we know about pain now pretty much contradicts what I learned about pain when I was in school. So it's learning about pain and experimenting with myself that I developed a system that I call DARE that you'll learn about today. And I want to share that with you guys because it's wonderful to have professionals like myself and doctors and physios and all the things, people that you can go to. It's really important to have that team. But your body is your home. You are the only one who lives in this home all day, every day. So it's wonderful to have experts that can help you, but we're experts in the theory of pain. The only person that's the expert of your body is you. And it shocks me that we don't learn what to do with these bodies of ours. It's not part of our schooling, it's not part of our education unless you study it as a profession. So that became my mission, that I want people to know that these bodies of ours have a great capacity to heal and to auto-regulate, meaning they know what to do all by themselves. But life is hard and sometimes they need a helping hand. So let's dive in. I want to start with a demonstration, and I'm going to ask you guys to participate in this demonstration with me. That's actually going to be true for everything today. I'm just going to change my setup here so that you can see everything. And this is where you're going to use your pen and paper. So I'm going to ask you to divide your page lengthwise in half, like this. At the top of one column, you're going to write threat. And at the top of the other column, you're going to write safety. And as I give examples of threat and safety, I'm going to ask you to write yours down on your page. You won't be able to get to them all during the webinar, so start it here together and then keep adding to it at the end of this. So pain is not about damage. It's about the 3 Ps. Pain is about protection, perception, and prediction. And this is my way, or one of my ways of showing why that is. So imagine we all have what I'm going to call a life bucket or a resiliency receptacle. You may have heard it called a threat bucket, but it's not just about threat, so I prefer to call it a life bucket. So this bucket is you. We all have a threshold. So this orange string, imagine that's your threshold. Everything challenging that comes into life and everything good that comes in our lives contributes to our life bucket. So let's start with threat. And as I give examples, please write down your own on your page. So every injury you've ever had, every surgery, every difficult relationship or breakup, every loss, every time you've had a horrible day at work, every scar, every time you've had a poor night's sleep, every time you eat inflammatory foods, every time someone cuts you off in traffic. So our system can handle a lot of threat. We are built to adapt. We really adapt very, very well. At a certain point, when we reach that threshold, we can't adapt any longer. So what happens? The body gives us an output. It starts to spill over in some way. And how it spills over is often pain. It can spill over as pain, muscle tension, muscle guarding, weakness, muscles giving way or locking, inflammation, feelings of anxiety. But the great news is that we can use tools to add safety into our life bucket. And when the safety offsets the threat, then the system is not so protective and overreactive. So now write these things down in your safety column. So some of the things that we can do to add safety and give us more space so that we've got the resilience to handle and adapt to more things are things like a breath practice, mindfulness, every time you get a good night's sleep, every time you laugh or smile, getting out in nature, a kind touch, hanging out with people that you love, petting your animals, doing movement that makes you feel strong, doing movement that just feels good in your body, eating healthy, nutritious food, getting a treatment of some kind like acupuncture, osteopathy, physio, massage. So we have the power to influence our life bucket. And when we have more safety than threat, our system doesn't feel the need to produce pain, and we'll talk about why in just a second. So I'm going to just change my setup and share my screen, and let's dive in to how this life bucket can be something that you use practically to get rid of your pain. So just let me share my screen here. Oh, and it's different on this computer than the one I'm used to. Okay, there we go. I can't see any of you, but Janet, do you mind unmuting and letting me know if you can see my slide?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so as I mentioned, pain is not about damage. Pain is about the 3 Ps: protection, perception, and prediction. And if we have more threat in our life bucket, then our system views the world through the lens of threat. And when it thinks we're under threat, it's our biggest protector. So it sets off into motion a chain of events that protects us, part of which is pain. We have something called nociceptors. So nociceptors are nerve endings. Noci means pain, ceptor is receptor. So a nociceptor is a pain receptor. You can think of those as danger detectors or alarm bells. That's how I'll refer to them for the rest of today: danger detectors or alarm bells. And here is a very simplified version of what happens for us to feel pain or not. So if you look at the image on the left, it's quite obvious that this person has sprained their ankle. The injury itself is not enough on its own to cause pain, because pain is not solely about damage. This is the chain of events that happens. The ankle is going to send signals through those danger detectors. It's going to send signals to your spinal cord. The spinal cord is then going to send messages up to the brain, to several different parts of the brain. This is where the super fascinating part happens. We're still not feeling pain at this point. The brain goes through, think of it like a virtual movie of your entire life. So it's looking at your life bucket. It tries to look at what's happened to you in the past, what information is coming up from your body in this moment, what's the environment that you're in and the people that you're with, and it tries to predict what you have coming up in the future. Based on all of that, it makes a decision. If the system decides Colleen's good, she's safe, no problem here, it's going to send chemicals and hormones down the spinal cord that will turn down the messages coming up from my body, in which case I either won't feel pain or I'll feel very little pain. On the other hand, if the messages get to the brain and the brain thinks, oh, this is bad, Colleen needs to know about this, then it's going to send a different set of chemicals and hormones down my spinal cord to upregulate or amplify the messages coming from the ankle, in which case I will feel pain. So the moral of that story is, it's not about the injury that you have. That's a piece of the puzzle. 100% it's a piece of the puzzle, but it is not by any stretch of the imagination the full story. Much more important is how the nervous system, which is your brain and spinal cord, interprets what's just happened to your physical body. So again, it all depends on that life bucket. If your system interprets threat, the system sends chemicals and hormones down the spinal cord to amplify or magnify the messages that are coming from the ankle in this example. And that's when you would feel pain. The ankle injury on its own, not enough for you to feel that pain. But the same injury can happen on a different day. Maybe it's a day that I hadn't been sleeping well for a week and I've been eating a lot of crappy food and I had a fight with my husband and I lost my dog. Now, when it goes to interpret, it's going to, oh, I gave you the wrong message. Sorry. Let's change that example. Now, let's say same thing happens and I've had a fantastic week. I've gotten great sleep. I've eaten really nutritious food. My relationship is good. I love my job. Everything's going well in life. Now, when the system is interpreting, it says, okay, Colleen's good. Her life bucket is doing well. It sends a different set of chemicals and hormones down the spinal cord to turn down the messages that were coming up from my ankle. And in that example, I will either feel no pain or very little pain. So the moral of the story is that we need to feel safe to heal. And the good news is that we can train safety, but we can't just do it once. It's taken your entire life to fill up your life bucket, to have the combination of threat and safety that it has in this moment. It takes time for us to shift the balance of whether there's more threat than safety. And let's be honest, life is full of threat. It's not like we can ever stop threat from coming in. Threat is going to keep coming. Some threat we have control over, some we don't. But what we do have control over is how much safety we put in. And what the key is to do enough training that signals safety, that safe becomes your default. That safe starts to feel normal. And this story is such a perfect example of how powerful this system is. So it's not my story. It's Lorimer Moseley is one of the leading, if not the leading researcher on pain in the world. He lives in Australia. And he tells this story. And I will send you guys the link to the YouTube video of him telling it because he tells it a lot better than I do. So he lives in Australia. He shares the story of being out in the bush, walking with friends. He's spent his whole life walking in the bush, so that was nothing new. He felt a little something on the outside of his leg. It made him do a little hop, nothing more than that. He went swimming. Next thing he knows, he wakes up in a hospital. He had been airlifted out because he had been bitten by the second most poisonous snake in the world. He didn't feel pain. He felt a little something on the outside of his leg, like a scratch, nothing more than that. Fast forward a year later, he's again walking in the bush with friends. He again feels a little something on the outside of his leg. This time, it was super painful. It caused him to grab his leg. He fell to the ground, screaming in pain. This time, he had just been scratched by a twig. There was nothing wrong. That's how powerful this system was. In the first scenario, when he got bitten by a dangerous snake and the signal got to his brain, when it got to the frontal lobe and the frontal lobe has to decide, have we been here before? His frontal lobe said, yeah, a million times. It's never been a big deal. We've been scratched on the side of a leg like how many times in our life? No big deal. Sends the chemicals down to dampen the signals. It got it wrong. And that's the point. Our system often gets it wrong. Second scenario, this time there was no danger, but when the signal got to his frontal lobe and the frontal lobe had to decide, have we been here before? The system goes, yeah, we have, and you almost died. So I'm going to let you know that this is bad. So it sent chemicals and hormones down to produce pain. It is not that the pain was in his head. Pain is never just in your head, and don't let anybody tell you or make you think that it is. If you feel pain, your pain is real 100% of the time. If we don't yet have the test to be able to understand why you have pain, that does not diminish the fact that you have pain. And in this scenario, Lorimer's pain was 100% real, but it wasn't warranted. The system got it wrong. And that's what happens with persistent pain. And sorry, let me be clear. I'm not talking about acute injuries here. That's a little bit different. I'm talking about pain that has persisted past the time of tissue healing. And what I find fascinating about that story is that happened to the man who is the leading researcher in pain. He's the one that taught the rest of the world that pain is about protection. But this isn't a conscious system. Your brain, your whole nervous system will decide whether you're under threat or safe before you even know that anything's happened. So it's not you consciously deciding, oh, I should have pain now. Your system is unconsciously doing that for you, largely based on what's going on in your life bucket. Pain is an output. It's not something that's coming in to our bodies. It's something that's produced by our bodies. And it's doing that to help us. It doesn't feel good on purpose. But think of pain as your best protector, your very best friend who's always got your back. They don't always tell you what you want to hear. They're going to let you know if you're having a bad hair day because they need to warn you. So thinking about pain as the enemy and trying to just fight it all the time actually adds more threat to your life bucket and actually sends us or keeps us in that pain loop even more because pain is produced when our psychoneuroimmune system feels that we're under threat and wants to get our attention. And psychoneuroimmune is a really big word. All it means is that psycho is the mind, neuro is the nervous system, brain and spinal cord. Immune is the immune system. They all work together. We cannot tease them apart. So I'm just going to say system, and I'm talking about all of it. Now, the tricky thing is that pain is really, really good at getting our attention, but it's terrible at letting us know where the problem is, how bad the problem is, or what we're supposed to do about it. And I think of this the same as a newborn baby. Babies are really good at crying to let us know they need something, but we have no idea, is it because they're hungry? Is it because their diaper needs to be changed? Is it because they're tired? Is it because they need a cuddle? We don't know. The signal is always the same. It's a cry. In our bodies, the signal is pain. The pain can look very different, but it doesn't tell us the story underneath. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky. We're going to talk about that today. We have to do a bit of trial and error to figure out, what is my system needing? We just know it needs something. And like we saw with Lorimer's story, the very challenging part is that the messages we get from our body once pain has persisted, it's like the wiring is miswired. It's just not correct anymore. It's all gone wonky. So we have to do some unlearning and then some relearning, almost like we're trying to get the wires to plug into the right places again. And something that we know for sure is that the nervous system learns from what it does. So if you're someone who plays guitar and you play guitar often, you get better and better at playing guitar. The same is true with pain. The longer you've been in pain, the better your nervous system gets at producing more pain. But don't let that be a not hopeful message or a discouraging message, because the good news is that anything the nervous system learns can be unlearned. We can teach our system to stop producing pain no matter how long you've been living with pain. One of the biggest barriers, though, is that fix it mentality that is such a natural mentality to have. Of course, if you're living with pain, you want to get rid of your pain. But when we're too much in that fix it mentality, I have to get better to make it to this thing, or I have to get better by this date because of XYZ, or I don't have time for pain, so I need to get it, it needs to be gone now. All of those types of attitudes about our pain actually signal threat to our system and will actually keep us from not getting through our pain. There's a big difference between having hope and putting in the work to get to the other side of pain versus attaching or grasping to the outcome. Hope is very helpful and leads towards healing. Grasping is hurtful and actually prevents us from healing. And there's not much that we can predict when it comes to the human body. Everybody's story is so uniquely different. But one thing that I've learned over 30 years of practice and working with people in pain is when someone comes into that first appointment and they have that attitude that I was just describing. I need you to get me better by June 4th because my daughter's getting married. I need you to get me better by August, blah, 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 because I'm going on a trip that I've been planning for 10 years. Almost guaranteed, the people who start off that way are not the ones that are actually going to get better by those dates, because It's generating threat in the system to be grasping on to that outcome. So this is a really, really difficult thing if you're someone who's living in pain, but try to embrace each moment as a unique moment and let go of what the outcome is going to be. And that will actually push you towards the outcome you want a lot faster. We also know that there is no magic pill, there's no magic treatment that is the one thing that gets rid of pain, that gets rid of persistent pain, sorry. It really is a combination of different things, and this is what I've spent the last 15 years really diving into, is looking at pain through so many different lenses and trying to bring it all together in a way that helps the most people. I call it DARE. It's the approach that works for me, and it's the approach that I use with all of my clients. DARE stands for dialogue, acknowledge, regulate, and explore. I talked about our bodies being our home. Our relationship with our body is like any other relationship you have in your life. A romantic relationship, a partnership, a friendship, a coworker. What is the key to a happy, healthy relationship is good communication. Pain is an output from your own body trying to get your attention. So the number one thing to do to try to get to the other side of pain is enter into the conversation, dialogue with your body. Whereas think about it. What do most of us tend to do when we feel pain? We want to ignore it, pretend it's not happening. We want to run away from it. We want to stuff it down, or we want to try to bully it into submission. Does that work in any of your relationships? Probably not. And it does not work with the body. So number one is enter into the conversation with your body. Number two, same thing again as in a relationship, is acknowledge the message. So imagine you're living with somebody and you tell them, you know what, it really bothers me when you leave your dirty towels on the floor after you take a shower. If your partner didn't make eye contact and walked out of the room as though you hadn't spoken, is that going to make you feel better? Absolutely not. It's going to escalate the situation because you're not being heard. The same is true when it comes to our bodies. You're getting that pain signal because your system wants you to stop, pay attention, and maybe change your behavior. So acknowledge the message. Literally, you can talk to your body and say, okay, I hear you. Thanks for letting me know. Regulate and explore, we're actually going to physically do together in a moment, so I won't dive into the theory right now. If you're someone listening who's been living with pain, or if you're a professional who works with people in pain, we all know that movement is really important. Motion is lotion, movement is medicine. Probably every specialist you've seen has told you how important it is to keep moving. But how discouraging is it when every single movement hurts? It's like soul crushing. And yet everyone you see says, well, just keep moving because it's so important. Well, there's actually a way to get back to movement that doesn't make it so soul crushing. And the first part is the 4 W's. Work with what's working. We tend to be tunnel vision. And those of you who are practitioners, please, please listen to this part. We tend to get tunnel visioned on where the symptom is. So let's say, for example, somebody has pain in their knee. Traditionally, what we would do is we would give treatment for the knee and we would strengthen above and below the knee. That might be part of the solution, But for someone who's living with persistent pain, going to where you have your pain is not the first place that I recommend starting. Instead, work with what's already working. Find a part of the body that doesn't have an issue, a part of the body that's moving well. Maybe their shoulder has full range of motion. Great. Let's work on range of motion of the shoulder. Maybe there's an area of the body that already has strength. Maybe it's their grip strength. Fantastic. Let's work on grip strength. Why? Because if you just immediately try to move the part that's sore, what's that going to signal to the system? Threat. Your system's going to get overprotective. It's going to produce inflammation and pain as a way to warn you that movement may or may not be the right choice. The system might be getting it wrong, but it's still going to do that. So we have to be aware of that. On the other hand, if you work with what's already working, you move a part of the body that already moves easily. Now you're teaching the system to associate that movement or movement at all with feeling good. So we want to disassociate movement from pain by staying away from the stuff at first that gives us pain. And we want to train the system to understand that movement can feel good. The other reason why work with what's working helps is because everything in the body is connected. Literally everything in the body is connected. So changing anything in the body has the potential to change everything in the body. So let's not get tunnel visioned on where we have symptoms, especially because, too, very, very rarely when it comes to persistent pain is where we feel pain the source of the pain. I'm just going to repeat that. The source of our pain is almost never where we feel the pain. That's like that newborn. System's great at letting us know something's going on, terrible at letting us know the what, the where, or the how. Okay, the other part of getting back to pain, getting back to movement is understanding the protect by pain response. So I'm going to stop share for a moment so that you can see me better. All right, I'm going to ask you guys to do this with me. So we have something called the protect by pain response built in. So take your index finger and you're just going to gently bring it to the point where you feel a mild stretch and just hang out there for a moment. And then only if you feel comfortable with it, you're going to keep going until the point where you feel a little bit of discomfort or pain in that finger. And notice where that is. So for me, I can get almost to 90 degrees. You can let that go and shake it out. Where you feel the pain kick in is your protect by pain response. That's letting you know, okay, Colleen, if you go further, you risk damaging that tissue. Great system. So I say, okay, I won't go further than that. Perfect. But the problem is when you've got persistent pain or after an injury, the protect by pain response changes. So come back and do this with me again. So now imagine I go to take that finger and now I get the pain here. I actually have all this movement that I could do before I'm anywhere near damaging my tissue, but I'm getting the signal here. This is what happens when pain has persisted. The protect by pain response kicks in way before we are anywhere near damaging tissue. It feels awful. It feels like we're about to, because that's how strong our protective systems are. So, what do we do with that? I call it flirting with the edge. So, let me just share my screen again. Okay. So there's a way to kind of flirt with the edges of sensation so that you slowly but surely over time teach your system not to be so overreactive. In DARE, what we do is we do this 5-point check-in where we observe and regulate breath, body tension, thoughts and emotions, and energetic state as we're getting back to movement or as we're getting back to other things in life. It's a little too complex to dive into in this webinar, but I'm going to give you the example of walking. So imagine you're someone who you get pain after 20 minutes of walking, but everyone's telling you how important it is to keep moving. So you walk for 30 to 40 minutes all the time. And you're just like, I'm strong, I can do this, I can keep going. But what you're doing, if you keep walking past the point where the pain kicks in, is now your brain associates walking with feeling pain. And then what happens is the protect by pain response will start to kick in sooner and sooner when you walk. So now all of a sudden at 15 minutes, you're having pain, and then at 12 minutes, and then at 10 minutes, until for some people, it's even when they think about the activity that the protect by pain response kicks in. Has that happened to any of you? Just think of that for a moment. Have you ever just thought about getting back to an activity and already your pain gets a little bit worse? That's your protect by pain response kicking in incorrectly, but kicking in to protect you. So what do we do? If we take that example of walking, if you get pain at 20 minutes, at first, you want to stop before 20 minutes. So let's say, for example, you start to walk 15 minutes at a time, and you do that for a while. How long exactly? Everyone's different. You have to play with it. But what we're trying to do is get the system to associate walking with feeling fine. And then we can start to add time to the walk. So you're better at first to do, in this example, 3 shorter walks a day, 3 5 to 10 minute walks, instead of one walk of 30 minutes, because now you've got 3 examples of teaching your system that walking is safe, it feels good, versus one example of walking is a big threat because I feel worse after. And we play with that, and we flirt with that edge of sensation. And one of the really key pieces here is to come at movement, come at all of your tools for getting to the other side of pain with an attitude of curiosity and play, self-compassion and gratitude. All of those trump fear every single time. Fear is perfectly natural to have if you've been living with pain. Of course, we're fearful. Part of that fear comes from some of the misconceptions we have around pain and just not knowing anything about pain, because who learns about pain if you're not in that as your profession? And as humans, one of our biggest fears is fear of the unknown. So if you don't understand what's happening in your body, of course there's going to be fear. But if you can bring in this attitude of curiosity and play, it makes a huge difference. Self-compassion makes a huge difference. So many people who live with something chronic, they start to blame themselves and they start to think, well, I must be doing this rehab thing wrong, or I must be doing my tools wrong. What's wrong with me that I'm not getting this pain care thing? No, it's not at all about that. It's that it took a long time for your life bucket to fill with the amount of threat you have in it right now, and it will take time before there's more safety than there is threat. So be kind to yourself, because meeting yourself with judgment is another threat. I like to use the phrase, find the phrase that works for you. When my body does something that I'm not expecting or that doesn't feel good, I go, huh, well, isn't that interesting? I wonder what it's trying to tell me this time. And then I see if I can try to figure it out. I enter into that dialogue, I acknowledge the message, and then I explore and see what happens. So, what we want to try to do to get to the other side of pain is not get symptom focused, which is hard to do. Trust me, I get it. But you want to think that that pain is part of you as a whole person. And you want to find as many ways as you can to fill your life bucket with safety so that you increase your resilience and you increase your adaptability so that there's more and more space before you reach that threshold. Because once we reach our threshold, pain is the thing that ends up spilling over. So, what are some of examples of what we can do to train safety? Mindfulness, movement that feels good or makes us feel strong, breath practices, clarifying our boundaries. Um, it's amazing what a correlation there is between people who are not able to say no, people pleasers like myself, people who are not able to say no to people have a higher incidence of ending up in chronic pain. Clarifying boundaries is huge. Nervous system regulation, applied neurology, we'll talk about it if you're not sure what that is. Kind touch, playful exploration, community like we are today, quality sleep, getting good nutrition, getting out in nature, being creative, doing things that bring you joy. And I know that there are some of you who are in pain right now. Maybe you've been in pain for a decade and you're listening to this and you're seeing, okay, it's not by getting out in nature that all of a sudden the nerve pain I've had for 15 years is going to feel better. No, you're right. It's not that on its own. It's never going to be one thing on its own. I like to think about it like baking a cake. Think of your pain care tools as the ingredients. And if you think of a cake, if you tasted each individual ingredient, the raw eggs, the raw flour, the vanilla, the salt, none of it's very good on its own. Mix it all together, it starts to become a little bit more interesting. Some people love the taste of the batter, some people not so much. But then the next part of it is we put it in the oven and then we pause. We wait. We give it time. And it's the same with your pain care. It took your whole entire life of experiences to get your life bucket to the state that it's in right now. And it will take some time to train safety and to remove some threat. So let's dive in. Let's do some practices together. I'm going to stop share. I chose I think, the easiest and quickest breath practice because quick and easy means we stick to it. So get into a comfortable position. Doesn't matter what position it is. You can be lying down, you can be seated. Eyes can be open or closed. I'll explain and demonstrate it first, and then we'll do it together. So this one's called the physiological breath. We take 2 inhales through the nose, 2 fairly short inhales through the nose, and then a soft, easy exhale audibly out the mouth. And we'll do that 3 times in a row. So let me just demonstrate it for you. We go, okay? So we're going to do 2 short inhales through the nose, long, soft, easy exhale through the mouth with some kind of sound. You're all muted, so no one's going to hear you. So let's do this together. We'll do 3 in a row. Get comfortable, eyes open or closed. I'll first just guide you through a regular breath in, regular breath out. And then on your next breath in, go ahead and do 3 at your own rhythm or follow me, whatever feels better in your body. Okay, so just settle in. Take a regular breath in, regular breath out. And then here we go. And once you're done your 3, just pause. Any practice you do, take a moment once you're done to just sort of marinate in it, to savor what you just did. And just notice. Notice what you notice. Maybe something changed, maybe it didn't. All of it's good information. Just notice what you notice. And breath is one of the quickest and most powerful doorways into our nervous system. We can affect big change with breath. Breath is free. It's with us everywhere we go, and it doesn't require any extra tools. So another nugget from our tasting menu or our ingredient from our cake of pain care is applied neurology. Applied neurology is where we use the cranial nerves. The cranial nerves are nerves that stem from the brain stem, and they're responsible for giving us information about our senses: vision, smell, taste, sound, touch. The information from our senses is constantly feeding information to our nervous system as a way to let us know if we're safe or in danger. Think about it. Our vision is going to let us know if there's somebody standing there with a gun and I need to not go in that direction. Our sense of smell, if there's a fire, it lets me know that something dangerous is in the vicinity. If I'm at a hotel and an alarm goes off, my sense of hearing lets me know that I need to get out of the building. So can you imagine how if any of those nerves that supply this information are also misfiring and they're not giving good information, now the system has to rely on everything else. So what does it do? It ups its hypervigilance. It ups its protective mechanisms. What does that result in? More inflammation and more pain. So again, it might seem really disconnected. If you have knee pain, do these eye circles that we're about to do, but you are one person and all those systems are connected. So we're going to do eye circles. I will describe it and then we'll do it together. If you are someone who wears glasses, it's up to you if you want to do it with or without. If you can see your thumb clearly without your glasses, I suggest doing it without. If you cannot see your thumb when you take your glasses off, I would keep them on. We're going to put our thumb out at arm's length. 2 fingers of the other hand are on the chin. These 2 fingers are just trying to guide us to not move the head to do the exercise. And then following the tip of the thumb with only the eyes, we're going to circle like a basketball-sized circle. And we follow slowly 3 times in one direction, slowly 3 times in the opposite. So comfortable position, you can be standing. Oh, you know what? We should do something before doing that. So before we do this one, let's just all do the same thing for argument's sake today, since we're a group and I can't see you all. Just turn your head to one side. Notice how that feels. Turn it to the other side. Notice how that feels. If there's any tension or discomfort, make a mental note, and we're going to retest after we do the circles to see if anything changed. Okay? So you can be seated or standing, glasses on or off. Lengthen one arm, two fingers of the other hand on the chin. You go at your own rhythm. Let's bring the thumb up and start to trace a basketball-sized circle with your arm, and your eyes are the only thing that's following that thumb. Go for 3 clockwise, nice and slow, and 3 in the opposite direction when you're ready. If you find that there's a lot of strain in your eyes doing this, make your circle smaller and slower. So maybe you have to start with a golf ball size circle. That's totally fine. Respect where your body's at. Work with what's working. Try to make sure the head is not going along for the ride. We really want to isolate the eyes here to work that visual system so that the visual system is giving accurate feedback to your nervous system. When you're finished that second set of 3, just let everything fall away, shake it out, and when you're ready, retest that head movement and just notice, better, same, or worse. Don't get too caught in the weeds on details, just your first instinct. Is it better, same, or worse? If it was better, isn't that cool? If it was worse, then this might not be the one that I choose for you today, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try it again on another day. Let me see what the next one in our list is. Okay. Hands-on release. I'm just going to check the next one as well. And mindfulness. Okay. So this one as well, you can be seated, standing, or lying down. We're going to use a kind touch. It's the same. Thank you for sharing, Heather. You're going to make a horseshoe shape out of your thumb and index finger, and you're going to place it just below your throat so that you've got one finger on each of your collarbones. That first hand is your feeling hand, so keep it soft, keep it gentle, keep it a kind touch, as though you're caressing the cheek of a newborn baby, and let your forearm just be resting comfortably on your body. The other hand is going to be the hand that's doing the action. So your other hand is going to come on over top. It's still soft and gentle and easy. Take a moment to just allow your tissue to accept the presence of your hands. So we're trying to contact skin, the fat, the fascia, and the muscles that are beneath your hands. And then with your top hand, you're going to guide that tissue a little bit down towards the pelvis, just a little bit. Keeping that, you're going to lift your chin slightly to the sky, just until the point where you feel a gentle engagement of the tissue at your throat. You're not looking for your biggest stretch. You're not looking to go as far as you can go. Find that place where the tissue is starting to talk to each other, and pause there. And then you're going to gently shake the head side to side like you're saying no. Pause in the center and tilt ear to shoulder on each side like a bobblehead. Pause in the center. Come on back to neutral. Take that first hand and place it all the way over to one side so that your whole index finger covers one collarbone. Other hand goes over top. Same idea. So just allow the tissues to accept that presence. Draw the tissue down towards your pelvis a little bit. This time you're going to turn your head towards the hands a smidge. Lift the chin up just to get that tiny little bit of engagement of the tissue. And then here again, we're going to shake the head side to side like we're saying no. Pause. Tilt side to side like a bobblehead. Pause. Gently let the chin come down. Bring the head back to center. Release the hands gently. And same thing on the opposite side. So place the other hand on the collarbone. Other hand goes over top. Guide the tissue down towards your pelvis. Turn your head to face that side. Lift the chin to engage the tissue. And shake the head side to side like you're saying no. tilt the head side to side like a bobblehead. Let the chin come down. Bring the head back to center. Gently release the hands. Pause for a moment. Tune inward. Check in with how that feels. Maybe you retest turning the head to one side and the other. Notice there's any difference. Could be the range of motion, could be the quality of it, could be the texture of it. And feel free to share in the chat if things changed or not. I always like hearing. And it's not negative if it didn't change. A kind touch should not be underestimated. Think about kids when they injure themselves. What's one of the first things that we do for them or that they ask of us is, can you kiss it better? Does kissing it actually change what's happened to their tissue? Not at all. But what kissing it does do is it changes what's in their life bucket. They got injured from whatever, that puts threat in. Somebody that loves them and cares about them gives them a kind attention, that puts safety in. And all of a sudden they feel better. So give that to yourself with a kind touch anywhere on your body at any time is a lovely, lovely thing to do. Mindfulness. We can do specific mindfulness practices, but I thought it would be more helpful today to give you examples of how you can bring mindfulness into your day-to-day life. Mindfulness is essentially about being fully present with whatever you're doing at any given moment. So things that you do every day anyways, you can turn them into a mindfulness practice. For example, showering. Showering is a great opportunity to give yourself a kind touch. So rather than being robotic about washing yourself, notice, okay, give yourself a kind touch. Notice what it feels like to have skin to skin contact if you're washing with a hand versus what's it like to put a loofah versus a face cloth versus a bar of soap. And by paying attention to the different ways of touch, that was terrible English, but I think you know what I mean. It trains our sensory system. It trains the nerves that allow us to feel. And especially if you're someone who's having any kind of neuropathic pain and the sensation is wonky, either with numbness, tingling, or too much sensation, retraining those nerves is key. And that's showering is a great place to do it. Same exact thing when you're putting on cream. Rather than thinking of other things as you're doing it, be very present and think of it as giving yourself a self-massage. Walking. I love Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Buddhist monk who we lost a few years ago. He talks about every time you take a step, think of it as your foot kissing the earth, like a conversation with Mother Nature. Think about all that nature gives to us, and you want to give a kind touch back to the earth with every step that we take. And I don't know about you, but I find myself every single time that I go to work, I never show up late for work. I'm always 20 minutes to half an hour early, but I exit my car in such a rush as though I'm like something on the other side is going to lose their life if I don't get there fast. And then I stop myself, right? I usually try to stop myself and I say, okay, just enjoy those steps. Make those steps a mindfulness practice. And it completely changes my nervous system state that I start my day with. It completely changes the way I greet my clients if I've rushed in completely mindless versus if I've taken those, it took me no extra time to kiss the earth and pay attention to the feeling of my feet on the ground with every step. Folding laundry is another great opportunity to feel different textures on your skin as you're folding or ironing. So rather than making it robotic, use it as a way to train your sensory system. And same thing with washing dishes. Folding laundry is going to be all soft, softer, more movable textures, whereas dishes are firm, maybe hot or cold. And all of this is a great way to not only train your sensory system, but to be mindful. Movement snacks. All right, I'm going to get you all to stand up for this one. Or if you need to stay seated or lying down, please feel free to do that. And you can try the movement snack at a different time. I'm just going to change my setup so you can see me. So come on up to a comfortable standing position with your feet just roughly hip distance apart. Okay. And let your knees be really soft, really loose. You're going to reach one arm overhead and you're going to look at those fingers as you just bounce, bounce, bounce. Change your gaze to the other arm, other fingers as the arm reaches overhead and bounce, bounce, bounce. We're going to do that same thing again. Follow the fingers of the arm that's reaching overhead. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Other side. Take your head and your eyes with you to follow the fingers. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Keep going, but now follow the fingers of the arm that's down. Bounce, bounce, bounce. And again, follow the fingers of the hand that's down. One more time each side. And last time. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Come on up to standing. Pause for a moment with your eyes open or closed and just take a moment to marinate in that small little movement snack and notice how you feel. It took us less than 30 seconds and we moved the ankles, knees, hips, the lumbar, thoracic, and cervical spine, and the shoulder. That's a lot of bang for your buck in under 30 seconds. We tend to have this misconception that if we're going to embark on movement, it has to be a whole class or it has to be a program that some specialist has given us. Those things are fine, but they're not the only way to get movement in. Movement snacks, where there are these short little bits of movement, at the beginning, work with what's working, do movement that just feels good. We can sprinkle those into our day. So you don't need to block off an hour or even half an hour to do your movement snacks. You can sprinkle 30-second movement snacks a few times throughout the day. One of my favorite times is in the kitchen when I'm waiting for the kettle to boil before having my tea in the morning, or I'm cooking dinner at night. I always get my hands on the counter and I do like a down dog variation with my hands on the counter. Things like that have a lot of value. And when we keep it short, simple, and easy, we're more likely to stick to it. And consistency is key. All right, so let's keep going with a few more ingredients. We're almost ready for questions. A nervous system regulation. Let me just see what the next one is. Okay. So let's do this nervous system regulation practice. Again, I wanted to keep it really simple for you guys today. So you're going to do both sides, but I'm just going to do this so you can see what I'm doing, but you're going to use both hands at the same time. You're going to use your thumb and index like this, or in whatever way feels comfortable to you. And you're going to gently squeeze the earlobe, and you're going to slowly work your way up the whole ear, giving one gentle squeeze. As you get to the top, you might find that you want to come at it from a different angle with your hands. And then you're also going to give a little squeeze to the tragus, which is that cartilage flap that covers the whole of the ear. And then 2 fingers in front, 2 fingers behind the ear like this. We're keeping a kind, gentle touch. Relax your forearms. We are not looking to massage the muscles here. You're just going to slide your hands towards the jawline and back, just brushing gently along the skin. The vagus nerve is what we're targeting here. And the vagus nerve is another quick doorway into the nervous system. We could do a whole course just on the vagus nerve. I do have a whole course just on the vagus nerve, but this is a lovely way to say hello to it. And then just come to a pause, marinate in that for a moment, check in with how did that feel? And even if things made you feel worse, that's really useful information that we're going to talk about in a moment. Ideally, we're looking for things that make us feel better, but sometimes we have to do a little bit of trial and error to figure out what works for us and what doesn't. Other ways to regulate your nervous system, we talked about it before, how impactful breath is. Grounding into your feet. So if your feet are touching the floor right now, just take your attention to what it feels like to have your feet touching the earth. Orienting to your environment like we did earlier. So looking around your environment and letting your eyes come to land on something that brings you comfort or makes you smile. Doing things that bring you joy. gratitude and compassion, approaching things with a curious attitude rather than fear, getting out in nature, doing anything creative, hanging out with your animals. These are all different ways of regulating our nervous system. So if you're feeling really agitated or apathetic, regulating the nervous system practices can be really helpful, and all of these can be done in seconds. When it comes to the nervous system, how do we know when to calm it down and when to ramp it up? This really could be its whole own course, but I just wanted to touch on it a little bit because for so many people, getting still is very challenging. And sometimes people then start to judge themselves because a lot of the practices involve getting still or getting quiet. And if all of those feel terrible in your body, you start to think, well, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. It is a very common thing that getting quiet and still with your body is very challenging for a lot of people. So if you're someone that when you go to do something that requires stillness and you feel more agitated, then you want to actually move something in your body as a way to match the energy that's there and to move it out and through. So some examples, we'll do these together. So do these with me. Using your fingertips, you can tap anywhere. I'm showing you here because you can see it, but you can use these anywhere. You can slap anywhere. You can make a cup shape out of your hands and cup anywhere. You can flick. And then if your feet are on the ground, stomp. If you're standing up, you can kick. So those are just some examples of if getting still actually makes you feel more agitated, then honor that and use movement to match the energy that's there. And then maybe after you've done some movement, you might feel more comfortable getting still. That may or may not happen in one sitting, but it's worth trying. And then a good little practice is name it to tame it, tap it to map it, and shake it to shed it. So what do I mean by that? Let's do that together. A little quick one right now. So think of something, it does not have to be related to your pain, but think of something that's a little bit challenging for you. But because we're in a group and we're not in the same room together, keep it a really small challenge, like something that would be like a 2 or 3 on 10. Don't choose something that's like a 7 to 9 on 10 here. So maybe somebody was rude to you at the barista, okay? Something like that. Get comfortable. Eyes can be open or closed. As you think of this thing that's a little bit challenging, does any sensation bubble up in your body? So take a moment to just notice. So for me, I feel it's a little bit of like a squeeze in my throat. So I'm going to name that. I'm going to say in my head or out loud as you wish, I feel like a squeezing in my throat. Second step is we're going to tap it to map it. So I'm going to tap where I feel the sensation. You go ahead and tap wherever you're feeling the sensation. And if the sensation changes or moves as you tap, you can follow it with your tapping. So I'm following it over to my left arm. Tap the area where you feel sensation. Doesn't matter if it's a good sensation, a negative sensation, or a neutral sensation. Anywhere where you feel something in your body, tap it. And then we're going to shake it off. So you're going to shake your arms, shake your fingers. If you're standing, you can shake your legs, shake in whatever way feels good in your body. And we're trying to like get it out of us. We're trying to shed it. And then pause, marinate in that for a moment. Notice how that feels. Name it to tame it, tap it to map it, shake it to shed it. Great strategy. You can do it in a short amount of time. Really good thing to discharge some energy. Sleep is one of the ingredients in our pain care cake. Quality sleep is so essential for healing, and yet almost everyone who has something chronic has difficulty sleeping. It's a vicious cycle. Sleep could also be its own course, but just a few tips that you can implement immediately. Try to wake up at the same time every day, even if you're on vacation or it's the weekend. Set your bedroom up in a way that's welcoming, in a way that makes you want to go there. And if there's going to be one room in your house that's clutter-free, have it be your bedroom. And use the 3 15s upon waking. 15 breaths, 15 ounces of water, and 15 minutes of sunshine. Nutrition, also a whole course. What we put in our bodies is the fuel that feeds us. It is a huge impact on our life bucket. So, wherever possible, eat whole foods. When you do your grocery shopping, stay on the periphery of the grocery store because as soon as we go down the aisles, that's where the packaged processed food comes in. See if you can add more anti-inflammatory foods, herbs, and spices. And if you don't know what foods those are, a quick Google search will tell you right away. And see if you can reduce inflammatory foods. And then think of getting as many colors on your plate as possible. Every meal, even breakfast. One of the other big barriers to getting to the other side of pain is giving up too quickly. We tend to want that quick fix, but it doesn't exist when something is chronic. So try to just have that not as a discouraging thing, but as if you know what you're getting into, then you don't have unrealistic expectations. Getting rid of pain takes some time. It takes some patience and it takes some consistency. So it's not by trying practices like the ones we just use one time or for 1 week that all of a sudden your pain is going to disappear. It doesn't work like that. It takes time because what we're trying to do, we're not using the tool to necessarily change the pain in the moment, although sometimes it does. We're using these tools to change the life bucket so that we're changing the signals that come into the system so that when the system is evaluating whether it needs to warn us with pain, it chooses no. Colleen does not need to be warned because everything's okay. So one of the ways to reduce the overwhelm of having, so I'm someone that when I have a lot of options, I really like that. That makes me feel comforted. But I get that for other people, that can be really overwhelming. That to have, I know some people just want, just give me this one thing that I need to do, and I will do that one thing. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist when it comes to chronic pain. So I'm giving you a lot of options. I'm trying to make them simple and easy to use. And one of the strategies that we can do is called habit stacking to reduce overwhelm because it can you don't want your pain care tools to feel like a job. You want to look forward to doing them because they feel good. And that's what's going to keep you coming back to them, not because Colleen told you you have to do XYZ. So one of the ways to reduce overwhelm so that it doesn't add extra time to your day, can you stack some of these tools to things you're doing anyways? So we already talked about how to put mindfulness in. The toilet is one of my favorite ways to get habit stacking. We all have to use the toilet every day on average of 6 times a day. So what if every time you sat on the toilet, you're doing a breath practice or not even a breath practice, you're just noticing your breath and keeping the breath soft and easy and maybe at the same time offering yourself a kind touch. That's 6 practices a day that you're getting for your pain care. Fabulous. Driving. Every time I'm at a red light, personally, I do a little chin retraction and I press the back of my head lightly against the back of my seat to just get a little bit of a movement snack in. The kitchen I already talked about. Every time I'm waiting for something to cook in the kitchen, I'm doing a tiny little movement snack using my hands on the counter. Walking, we talked about how we can turn that into a mindfulness practice or a moment where you're using your breath. And waiting rooms. One of the challenges when you live with something chronic is the appointments that you have sometimes, and sometimes those appointments are not so fun, and being in the waiting room can be long and challenging. You can do any of the practices we talked about. A lot of them you can do without anyone knowing you're doing anything, or you can put a headset on and be guided through some sort of mindfulness practice. So if you don't want anyone to see you doing anything, you can do it on the down low. But habit stacking is a great way to get your tools in without feeling like you have to add extra time to your day. And then a really important piece of advice for those of you living with pain and the practitioners, if you've got something chronic, don't use pain as your barometer of whether or not you're getting any better. Improvement when something is chronic is about so much more than just your pain. And if you only focus on pain, it's going to be discouraging and you're going to think that you're not doing better when in fact you probably are. So, for practitioners out there, one of the worst questions that we can ask someone who lives with something chronic is, how is your pain? Because it's probably not great. It takes time for it to change. And to have to focus and say it out loud all the time that they're not doing well adds more threat. If you just ask, how are you doing? How are you doing today? What have you done since we last saw each other? Well, if you have someone that tells you, oh, it was great this week. I went out with friends and I got back to painting, which I haven't done in years. Well, you automatically know that they're doing a little better. Whereas if you ask, what have you done since I saw you last? And they tell you, oh, I had some plans, but I had to cancel them all because I wasn't doing well, then you know that their pain is not doing well without making them say that out loud. So let's not get hyper focused on the pain as our barometer of whether we're doing better. Because as your nervous system becomes less protective, pain is not usually the first thing that changes. For me, it was the ability to read and my hypersensitivity to sound. I'm an avid reader and I have been ever since I was a kid. I actually used to get in trouble for reading too late at night when I was younger. And there was a period of, I forget how many years when this all happened in 2010, where I could not read. I had a book and I tried to read like a Bobo Baby Lala book, and I would read the same sentence over and over for months and not be able to retain what I had read. I had to really retrain all of that, and I had to train my nervous system to be less under threat so that I could focus enough to read and retain. And in those beginning years, it was so difficult to be social. I had such a hypersensitivity to sound that if I was in a group or even two or three people, I would hear all the ambient noise and all the other conversations like explosions going off in my head. And the person I was talking to, I could see their lips moving, but I couldn't make out what they were saying because all I could focus on was all the other stuff. And now it's still 15 years later, my sensitivity to reading is no problem now. My sensitivity to sound is what lets me know that I need to slow down and I need to put less on my schedule. When I get too sensitive to sound, that's my signal, not my pain. It's my sensitivity to sound. But it took me years to figure that out. So some of the things you want to pay attention to instead of your pain is your fatigue level, your mood, how irritable or reactive you tend to be, how easy or difficult movement is, how coordinated your movement is, strength, range of motion, flexibility, your sleep quality, your sensitivity to sound, light, taste, touch, and smell. Notice if you're saying yes to more social invitations. Are you smiling or laughing more? Are you finding it easier to focus, to remember, to pay attention? Do you have the desire to be creative? Do you have more ability with your creativity? And savor and celebrate every win, no matter how small. We tend to be very quick to notice the things that are not good. If you wake up one morning and your back hurts, for example, we'll usually say it. Oh, I felt so stiff when I woke up this morning. Think about when you wake up and you feel fine, do you point it out to yourself or to anyone? Usually not. But please start after today because we are wired for survival. We are not wired for happiness. We have a negativity bias. We need to remember the bad things in order to survive as a species. So our system is great at remembering everything negative that ever happened. When it comes to things that are positive, we have to consciously do something to kind of tattoo it on our nervous system. So the three ways that I suggest is say it out loud, share it with somebody. I woke up today and I felt like a normal human being. I didn't feel like the Tin Man. It was great. Write it down or just relive it for yourself like you're watching a movie of it happening. Trial and error. Just like the newborn baby, we don't know why they're crying. So you need to get used to a little bit of trial and error. And I know that that can be frustrating if you've already put in a lot of time in trying to get better. But if these tools are new to you, try to embrace it with curiosity and play and make the trial and error a little bit fun. And we're going to hear in a moment from people who have done this. All information is good information. Knowing what doesn't work for you is just as beneficial as knowing what does. But if something doesn't work once, that doesn't mean that it's not good for you. It means on that day, that's not what your life bucket needed. But try it again and again and again. Patience and consistency are key. And really be open and curious to see what you learn from your own body, because it's got a lot to share. Pacing is hugely important. Have any of you out there who live with pain that when you have a good day, you do all the things, all the things that you're not usually able to do? You have a good day and you do all the things and then you crash. We call this the boom and bust cycle. It is so natural that if you have to hold back from doing certain things because of your pain, when you finally feel better, it feels good to be a normal human being doing all those things again. But please pace yourself. On those good days, just savor feeling good. Just do maybe one thing that you want to do and then just enjoy feeling good. And two suggestions that I have is take a break before you ache. So if you're doing something like cooking and you start to feel sore, so you start to be getting wiggly and you're starting to try to massage yourself, you waited a little too long. If you take a break while you still feel fine, you'll be able to get more done and feel good while you're doing it. Same thing when you're going out to be social. For some people, not everyone, for some people, getting out to be social is very difficult when you're living with something chronic, but it's a really necessary thing. Community is really important. But a trick at first, as you're building your capacity, as you're building your resilience, go and do the social thing and leave while you still feel great, so that your system starts to associate being social with feeling good, rather than staying so long that you now spend 3 days trying to recover, and now the system is associating community as a negative thing. I love this. Live like someone left the gate open. So many people who live with something chronic put off living, really, until they feel better. But studies really support the idea that it is by living, it's by doing the things that make you happy, that change the protective systems in your body, decrease the inflammation, and decrease pain. Pace yourself, though, but start living like someone left the gate open. And the nervous system learns from what it does. So your nervous system's gotten good at doing pain. Let's make it good at doing things that make you feel capable, strong, comfortable, happy, confident, empowered, flexible, resilient, and good in your body. So let me just do a little recap, and then we're going to hear from some people who have used the DARE approach so that you hear from someone other than me what it's like to put these into practice. So try not to be symptom focused. Focus on you as a whole person and what can you do to remove some threat and to add more safety into your life bucket. Remember the 3 Ps. Pain is not about damage. Damage is like a little piece of the puzzle, but pain is mostly about protection, perception, and prediction. And you want your system to be viewing life through a lens of safety. Remember the 4 Ws. Work with what's working. Don't immediately try to move the part that hurts. Move what already feels good. Use DARE to help you. Dialogue, acknowledge, regulate, and explore. Address it all with an attitude of curiosity and play. Pace yourself. Celebrate every win, no matter how big or how small, and be consistent, be patient, and be kind to yourself. Okay, so let me just stop share for a moment. And can I invite Judy LaPalm to unmute? I'm just going to check the chat.
Okay. I'm unmuted.
Wonderful. Hi, Judy. I don't see you yet. Just give me a second so I can see you. Okay, give me 2 seconds. So those of you watching, if you go to your top right where it says view and you go to multi-speaker, you'll be able to see, oh, no, that's not what I wanted. That should work. Anyways, we'll go, multi-speaker should show me and Judy side by side. It's not what's doing for me, but hopefully it does for you. Okay, Judy.
Okay.
Judy, you have been using the DARE approach for about 5-ish years now, I think.
At least.
At
I
least.
was trying to remember when I started, but it's at least 5
At least
years.
5 years. And I happened to see you this week and you were sharing how curiosity and play was such a big piece for you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, I guess what I'd really like to say about that is, I guess I'm like everyone when pain hits, the first thing that hits is it feels that feeling like you're not going to be able to manage. It's going to be like this all the time. And I have to go through that period, which is miserable, but I go through it. And then something starts to tell me, oh, okay, yeah. But now what if I just try this little thing? And there's a few, because I've had the DARE for a long time, I've the DARE program for a long time, I've kind of got some favorite little things that loosen things up, that are simple enough that it's not this huge test, because I find when I'm talking about a flare, but
Yep.
when I'm in a flare, it's hard to have confidence, kind of, that
Yeah, for sure.
but there is this thing, because of this commitment and experience, that I always feel better, and better in the way Colleen's talking about. Sometimes the pain is going to go on, but my whole head changes,
Mm.
because with this curiosity of let's try this little thing, and there's a few little things that I do, and those movement snacks are some of them. And I do it, and somehow this flicker of hope, which you talked about, you reminded me that's what it is. It's like, oh yeah, I can do something. I'm part of this. This isn't just happening to me. So I every day I do little movements. It doesn't mean I don't do bigger movements, but I like to do little movements, things that give me this confidence and kind of wake up the curiosity. Oh, how does it feel today? And I'm a curious person, so it's really wonderful for that curiosity to be applied to me and my body, whereas normally that's the last place I'd be
Mm.
curious. So
Right. Yes, that's a
I
good point.
so I find by just always coming back to it, because it just does come back. I guess my nervous system has kind of caught on, and
Wonderful.
for me, curiosity is empowering and just changes my mindset, because I think we all know with pain how low you can go, and the doom and gloom, and this kind of just takes it and brings it to a whole other place, that's way less painful in so many ways. So that's
Thank
what I
you.
have to say about that.
Thank you, Judy. I really appreciate your sharing and your commitment to your own body. You've done such an amazing job at staying committed, and it has made a difference, you know? It's been really fun to see that.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. I might call you back again. Thank you very much. Judy McDonald, can I ask you to unmute for a minute?
There we go.
Hey, Judy.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Judy, I remember, so you were part of so I have a program called Dare to Hear that I'll tell you guys about in a minute, but I remember that, Judy, you were part of the beta launch of it. So I had asked all of the participants at the end, what would you change about the program? How can I make it better? And you said to me, I don't know if you remember this, you said it would be really helpful if for the movement snacks, you could label them so that we know which body part they're helping. And do you remember what I said to you?
You said no.
I said I did it on I purposely didn't do that because, and then I put the question back at you. I said, had I done that, would you have immediately beelined to the exercises that were for the body part that hurt on you?
And I would have said yes.
Yes. And you said absolutely. And I said, and that's exactly why I haven't done that. because we want to work with what's working. And by changing anything in the body, we end up changing everything in the body. So as someone who wanted the exercise for the body part that hurt, how was your experience to not get it quite that way?
Well, I fought it at first.
As we all do.
Yeah, but no, really, it goes back to not having them labeled that way. It really kind of forces you to play around and find things that you may not have ever thought could work for you that do, or things that you thought might work for you, you find out that's really
Yes,
not for me.
good point.
And yeah, so it makes you more curious and more open to playing around. And as a result, you end up building up a little
Like a
bunch
repertoire.
of a repertoire. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
or your goodie bag. We talk about it as a goodie bag in the program, that it's like a goodie
Yeah.
bag of snacks you can choose from.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I do frequently is the whole kitchen thing. It's like waiting for make the coffee to be finished in the morning. I'll do some stretches at the kitchen counter. And the kitchen counter is a good height for me to do those kinds of things because I'm tall.
Perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, it really helped develop little things I could do and not to have to feel overwhelmed that, oh, I have to go be on the floor for the next hour and a half
Yes.
doing stuff.
So, and I'm curious, I've never asked you this, but now, because that was many years ago, at this point in your journey, if you get a little flare up or you feel pain, do you immediately do an exercise for that body part, or do you tend to play around with other things?
I tend to play around with other things. I
Yay.
try to ask my body, what is it telling me?
Fantastic.
And sometimes it has nothing to do with movement.
Yep. Yes, that's a great point, Judy. Sometimes it's not movement that we need, and that is okay. There are days when it's the best thing is to do absolutely nothing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And the balls. I love the balls.
Me too. I love the balls. Thank you, Sylvia. I see that you have to leave. Thanks for being here, Sylvia. You'll get the replay. Okay, I appreciate that, Judy. Anything else you want to share?
No, just thank you for all the work you've done and helping all of us.
Thank you for always being for always showing up. I appreciate it. Thank you. I might call on you again, but thank you so much.
All right.
Janet, do you mind unmuting?
I'm here.
Hey, Janet. Thank you for being here. Janet, what strikes me when I think of you, it actually happened before you took the DARE program. So two things actually. You were someone who I've been seeing off and on for about 20 years, both for Pilates and osteo. And you used to be somewhat regular, like not every week, but you would come periodically for little tune-ups and things like that. Okay, so I'll do this as my first question. Since you took the DARE program, I don't think I've seen you back in the clinic, which is fabulous. All the coaches in my life tell me that's a terrible business model that I've created, but I love it. It's exactly what I wanted, that I wanted to create a program where people did not need to come and see me, that you had the tools to help yourself. So I would love it if you could speak to that.
So there are so many tools in this program that I've integrated into my life on a regular basis. I don't even notice them as tools anymore. It's just a part of my life. This is what I do.
That's
And
awesome.
I don't even think about it anymore. But as you were going through your presentation today, I realized, oh my God, I do that, I do that, I do that,
Oh,
I do
that's
that,
so
I do
good.
that without even thinking. And I've had a big mindset shift, all those scary findings on x-rays and MRIs and whatever. I mean, that doesn't have to be your destiny. It isn't even necessarily explain or produce pain. So I'm able to find my edge basically in everything in life, and I'm thriving.
Oh, Janet,
So
that
it's not that I
completely.
don't want to see you, Colleen. I just
No,
I just feel
it's
like your
perfect.
precious time can help other people, and I would be taking up your time for like basically nothing at this point.
I love it. It's perfect. And I love what you just said, because it can feel daunting at first, that, it does feel like it can be a lot to implement all these tools, but I love that you said you're using them and you don't even notice it anymore. It's just part of it's the same for me. Like, people ask me, like, is it a full-time job what you do? And I'm like, no, I weave it in but I look forward to it. All the things I weave in feel good, and I enjoy it. I don't think of it as anything. It's like you say, it's just part of my life now.
Mm.
And that's the other thing that I wanted to say is before you even took Dare, I distinctly remember the day that you came in and something was different. And I asked you what was different, and you said, "I've decided not to be in pain anymore." And it's not that from that day forward you never had pain again, but your attitude about your pain completely changed. You made a decision that it wasn't going to control your life anymore, and there was such a big shift in you from that moment onward that was really really fun to witness. So I don't know if you kind of already talked about it. If there's anything else you want to share about that mindset piece, please do. If you feel you already said enough, that's great.
Yeah, so at one point I definitely had a mindset shift, and seeing you as part of it and hearing some of your pre-dare ideas about pain certainly helped. And I don't know, at one point I delved a little bit into Buddhist theology or
Yep.
whatever, and that's very helpful. You mentioned Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yep.
There's many other teachers in that idea, along those lines, and I think it's happiness and is something you choose. So
Yep.
yeah, that's basically been my
And I think
mindset
you're
shift.
a perfect example of rather than waiting to live life until you feel better, it's by living your life that you feel better.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Janet. Melanie, I'll just have one more person to come on and then we'll open it up to questions. So Melanie, if you wouldn't mind unmuting.
Okay, I'm here.
Hello, Melanie. Thank you for being
Hello.
here.
Hello. Thanks
So,
for doing this. This is
yeah, of
awesome.
course. So Melanie is a massage therapist and a yoga teacher. So I've never talked to you about this, Melanie, but I'm just curious. You took the DARE program for yourself personally, but I'm curious to know if it also spilled over into the way you teach or the way that you offer massage.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Um, so with my clients, it's so interesting you were talking about that a little bit today, but I find the questions I ask them are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I approach a treatment is very, very different. Like I used to sort of go more, okay, so your shoulder hurts. Okay, let's look at, what can we do? But
Yeah.
it's like now I'm looking a lot more at the whole system, whole everything. And I find
Awesome.
that's changed a lot of how I work and also the results that I get with working with people. So
Oh,
that's really
fun.
cool.
That's awesome.
And in yoga as well, I think that through doing the program myself, even though I thought I had such a great relationship with my own body,
Mhm.
it got so much deeper that I feel like I'm encouraging people to be more curious and, just to notice the simple things in their body. And I find that's been really cool too. So
I
yeah.
appreciate you sharing that. And I think anyone listening who is a practitioner or teacher, um, sometimes we think that we can just learn the information in theory,
Hmm.
and that's not the case with this stuff. You have to embody it in order
Yeah.
to relay those practices to your clients, whether they're students or patients, whatever the case may be. You really have to embody this work in yourself to be able to transmit the information to the others. I think you would agree. I think that's what you just said.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Is there anything else you'd want to share?
Um, just a thank you, and that this doing this program for myself as well has been the most enormous mind shift change. I also I really used to catastrophize every flare. Like I was
Yep.
just like, okay, this is my life now. I'm just gonna be in pain forever, and everything needed to stop. And so I still have flares, but
Mhm.
the way I deal with it is so different. The kindness I give myself, just so much of it is different.
Oh,
So
that's good to hear. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for sharing. Glad to hear that. Thank you. Thank you. I will spend just 2 minutes letting you guys know what this program is that they were just talking about, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. So, my program is called Dare to Heal. It's a 12-week online pain care program that starts not this Monday, but next, October 27th. I'm going to share this replay with you, so there'll be a link there that you can share. And actually, Janet or Judy or Melanie, would you mind sharing in the chat as two separate things. Can you share the link to the information about the program, and then in a separate chat, the link to buy the program if anybody's interested? So in this program, it's all online. Every week, a new tasting menu of pain care tools opens up. Basically the kind of things that we did today. So every week you get a new pain care nugget that teaches you how pain works, breath, mindfulness, nervous system regulation, movement snacks, hands-on, an applied neurology exercise, a journal prompt, and a curiosity prompt because I wanted to throw something in there that has absolutely nothing to do with pain because pain is not our whole life. New this session, I'm adding in the applied neurology. I'm in the process of getting certified as a somatic stress release practitioner, and the things I've learned in this program are just unbelievably applicable for anyone who lives with something chronic. So I'm adding that in, and I also did an amazing course twice actually with Dr. Ariel Schwartz on applied polyvagal theory in therapeutic yoga for trauma, so that's sprinkled in there as well. We get together like this, live community calls every 2 weeks. It's optional, but it's a lovely way to practice together. We kind of review what you would have learned in the program in the previous couple of weeks. I open it up to questions. It's a great time for us to connect, to feel less alone, and to learn from each other. Because usually what we do is I'll guide you through a practice, and then we'll take turns sharing how we felt the practice in our bodies. And it's fascinating how everyone experiences it differently. When you're just doing it on your own in your home and you don't like a practice or something, or you feel like things aren't working, it can be so helpful to hear from others that everybody's got a different experience. If you ever can't make it to those calls, you get the replay and you can watch those at any time. There's a bunch of bonuses that come when you sign up. You get a free pain care ebook, a sleep hygiene PDF, a nutritional tips PDF, an audio guided somatic tracking practice, a guided somatic stress release practice. You have access to a private community that has all the lovely ladies you saw today talking. So anyone who's ever taken DARE is in this community, a really supportive community. And for the first time, I'm giving lifetime access to the program, so you can go back and look at it as often as you like. The program is $425. You can either pay in one chunk or you can pay it in 3 installments over 3 months. And everyone who's registered for the Unlearn Pain webinar gets 25% off. So I think the ladies are sharing that link for you in the chat. So it comes out to be $318 instead of $425. And the first 5 people to register get a free 15-minute Zoom call with me so that you can ask your questions if you're not sure how to get started or what's right for you, what's safe for you. We can jump on a Zoom call together and go through all that. So when I share this replay, you'll get those links. And I think their ladies are putting that in the chat for me as well. Okay, I'm going to stop share and open it up to any questions you might have. I should have mentioned at the beginning that, let me just change my view here. I should have mentioned at the beginning, sorry, I can't find that this is being recorded. So if you don't want your face on camera, I should have told you at the beginning to turn your camera off. But if you have a question that you want to ask, but you don't want your voice on the recording, feel free to put your question in the chat. So let me just check the chat right now to see if anybody already put a question in. Thank you, ladies, for putting those links in there. I appreciate that. Okay, so if anyone has a question, just feel free to unmute and ask your question. I'm happy to answer, whether it's about the program or anything that I shared in this webinar. Go for it. And I can't see you all at once, so it might take me a minute to find you. So just start talking and I'll find you. Judy McDonald, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm just curious, what is this somatic release? I forget the name.
Oh, it's such a beautiful program. It's given by Dr. Scott Lyons. I'm going to try to summarize it in a nutshell, but that's hard to do. So what I really appreciated learning, oh, thank you, Christine. I'm glad to hear that. What I really appreciated learning from him, when I first dove into learning about the nervous system, I thought, I don't know if that was in my interpretation or how it was being taught at the time, I thought it was about always trying to calm the system. But not everybody needs to calm the system. The nervous system does many different things, and it activates us sometimes for a reason. Like for me to present to you guys today, I need my nervous system to be activated. I need to be somewhat in my stress response so that I don't put you all to sleep and so that I can remember what I wanted to say to you. So one of the things that I really got from this program is helping to guide people, first of all, to figure out when is the moment to calm it down, when is the moment to help it activate. And we've learned so many beautiful practices to do both. It's really a cool approach. Very complementary to what I already do. Thanks for asking, Judy. Sabina, did you have a question? Oh, I can't hear you yet. Are you writing something to me in the chat? Oh, no problem. Okay. If you have a question, just put it in the chat. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share or ask? Thank you, Claudia. Nice to see you here. I'll just give it another moment in case anybody's shy and has a question but not sure how to unmute. And look, if you have questions that bubble up in the days to follow, thank you, Shelley. Shelley, did you have anything that you want? I wasn't sure if you were going to be here live, but if there's anything that you'd like to share about the program as a PT and how it might have affected how you work with clients, I would love for you to share. Don't feel any pressure to. You're welcome, Suzanne. Thanks for being here.
I could maybe share. I do kind of, I haven't been able to do, I was one of the better people in your, like, very,
Yes, one of the OGs.
but I wasn't able to continue because of my crazy life. But I'm on the same wavelength as you, even before I met you in that. So, but I came with beginner's mind for myself.
Yeah.
And I've learned a great deal, and a great deal has been reinforced, or I have strong intuition, and I've learned to listen to that intuition more.
So important.
And there was a lot of aha, that's why that makes sense for me. And I do bring all of these ideas with my physiotherapy clients, and
Awesome.
like the motion is lotion. And I have a gentleman right now who acute back pain, and he keeps having these acute episodes, and he's had everything ruled out, like inflammatory arthritis and all that, because he was anyway. But he's saying, I really want to be able to do this weekend. I'm like, you're gonna do it. You're gonna, like, he's learning strategies. And I said, you go and enjoy your community and your friends, and you just take care of yourself at the same time.
Yeah, pace.
Yourself, use your strategy. So yeah, and there's been lots that I do very definitely bring into my practice with clients, and it's nice to have a whole bunch. And like I often use, I use the motion as lotion, but finding motion that feels good.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shelley. And I love that Shelley is a physiotherapist who has more experience than I do, but she came into it with that beginner's mindset, which I also do anytime I take something from somebody else, because there's always more to learn. Or you might hear the exact same thing, and on a different day, depending on what's going on with your life bucket, it lands differently. So I go back to the same practices over and over, but it's like a new experience almost every single time, because I'm a different body. I'm a different person almost every single time. So that's part of what keeps it fresh and interesting for me anyways. That's part of what makes it actually fun, which I know you might be looking at me and think pain care is not fun. It can be. It really can be. Not all of it all the time. No, I'm not trying to be like bring in toxic positivity. That's not what it's about. You have to have your bad days. I call them your crying your cornflakes days. Very important to have that. Living with pain is not easy. Not at all trying to pretend that it is. And it is true that allowing ourselves to laugh, allowing ourselves to get out and live life are things that help to heal rather than the opposite. And waiting to live life until you feel better is not the thing that's going to help you get better. So step out of your comfort zone every now and then, just little bits, just titrate little bits of things that you maybe haven't done yet and see what changes over time as you start to shift that threat and safety balance, basically. Any other questions at all? Just feel free to unmute and start talking, and then I'll find you. Doreen, I think you're, yes. Hi, Doreen.
Hi. I just had a little question. You were talking about nutrition and inflammatory foods, and
Yeah.
I just wondered if there was any one, apart from, I mean, I know I kind of have an idea of what some of the answer will be, but one inflammatory food in your personal experience that has
Sure.
caused you great
So
stress.
dairy and sugar, I would say, are two big ones. Yeah. Does that mean you can never have dairy and sugar? No, of course not. But if we can moderate, a little bit less of what's inflammatory, a little bit more of what's anti-inflammatory. So if you know you're going to be enjoying a nice dessert, maybe you have a few more leafy greens with dinner that day, that kind of thing. I'm not of the mindset of you have to eliminate everything that's not perfect in terms of nutrition. Food is a pleasure. Food is one of the joys that we do have. And it's really okay to indulge and enjoy indulging and not shame ourselves for indulging. And it's also true that what we put in our bodies makes a difference in our pain. And that's something else that you can just sort of get used to is, okay, I know that when I have sugar, my pain goes up a little bit. I know that, and I'm choosing to have a little sugar, knowing that my pain's going to go up for 24 hours, and I'm deciding that I'm okay with that. That's different than you go to a party, all of a sudden you're in more pain and you can't figure out why, and now you've got that fear because you don't know why you're in more pain. If we understand what's happening in our bodies, then we say, okay, this week I choose to go ahead and have the sugar. Next week, maybe I'll choose not to. It's your choice. Does that help at all?
Yes, I mean, I'm pretty good with the sugar. I've kind of really, I don't have a sweet tooth, and I think the dairy is probably would be more of a weakness.
Okay.
Not high fat dairy, but nevertheless, dairy is dairy. So
Yeah, so it's just something that you take a look at and just see and experiment, and see if you take some out, does it change anything?
right, right. Okay, I'll give it a try. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you for asking. And Christine, I think, asked me something. How many weeks is the course? 12 weeks. It's 12 weeks. You have the program for life, so you don't need to stick to the schedule. However, I will say, and this is why this is the first time I'm giving lifetime access to the program, because I know when I take a program, I like to have it forever. Because I go back and do it. I'm a perpetual student and I love to learn, and I will go back and do it. Most people do not. So all the research shows that when you buy a program that you have forever, most people will not do it, which is why I didn't originally want to give it to people, just because I didn't want you to not do it. So you do have it forever, but I would highly, highly encourage you, if you join the program, stick with me for those 12 weeks, because I guide you through, you're going through it together with other people who are learning things at the same time. It doesn't mean you have to do everything in the 12 weeks. If you choose one practice a week, great. And then you have a lifetime to go back and look at the rest in whatever way you want. But don't just let it sit there for the 12 weeks thinking that you're going to embark on it on your own, because most people don't, is what I will say. Okay. Anything else?
Do you know when you're going to be scheduling the live calls? Do you
Oh,
have
that's a really great question, Janet. I don't know for sure, but Tuesdays seem to work well on my schedule. So Tuesdays or Wednesdays, probably. The time, I think what I'll do is once we get a group, I'll float some ideas about time. It'll be sometime between 4 and 6 p.m. on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I would assume. I think somebody just put something in the chat. Let me just check that. Yeah, thank you, Melanie. The community aspect is special. And I know that when you're living with pain, I'm this way. I'm like, I don't feel like being in community often. And there's room for that. There are going to be times when you join in the live call and you don't have your camera on and you don't say a word. Perfect. Or there's going to be times where you're listening to the community call the following week. Perfect. You still get that sense of community by hearing and seeing other people's experience. There really is something to it. And one of the things with pain, one of the biggest contributors to getting held in that pain loop is perceived loneliness. Not necessarily being lonely, but the perception of being alone on your journey. And so that community element is really impactful. And we also know that we co-regulate with each other. Our nervous systems sync up with each other. So when you're in a group like this, I've got you guys on gallery view again, and just being able to see the different faces and the different smiles, it changes my nervous system. It 100% does. There's value in that. Anything else? Well, I thank you all so much for being here, for taking the time for yourselves on a Saturday, 2 hours in the middle of your day. I know that's not nothing. It means the world to me that you chose to spend it with me. For those of you who are listening to the recording and you guys that are here, feel free to reach out to me by email after watching the recording. If you have questions that didn't pop up today, I'm happy to answer. And I hope to see you, some of you, in the program. You won't regret it. It really, I put my heart and soul into it, and I'm so proud of what it has done for people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes, no, oh, Christine, email me about that. I want to say yes, but on the back end, I'm not sure if it'll work if she's not registered. So just check with me, send me an email and I'll figure that out. Okay. She was asking, can she share the recording with people? I don't mind at all, but I don't think you can just do that. I think they'll still have to register and then they'll get it. But I have to check on the tech side. If they register after we've done it, are they gonna get it? I think so, but I need to check with people who know more than I do. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. We'll find a way to make it happen. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Any questions, just email me.